You know, Soundpeats has been coming out with some budget quality earbuds in rapid fire succession, and this latest product here is no exception. So let's check it out. What's cracking, everyone? My name is Ryan, and today we're going to be talking about the Soundpeats Air4 Pro. Now, this is a Bluetooth 5.3 true wireless earbud from the folks over at Soundpeats. Retails in at $79.99, and for a limited time, I will put a coupon code in the description down below so you can get this for as cheap as $47.99. Now, before I get into this video, I do want to send a big thank you to Soundpeats who sent this out in exchange for my review. All thoughts and opinions are of my own. All right, so really quick, I want to go ahead and talk about what you get inside the box, build and comfort of the earbuds, the features, the technical specifications, and then I want to take a deep dive into the sound of these because these sound really good. So inside the box, you're going to get the earbud case, you're going to get the earbuds, you'll get a set of small, medium, and large tips, you'll get the USB-C charge cable, and then you'll get a quick instruction manual booklet along with a quick guide. Now, the earbuds themselves are really nicely built, in my opinion, and the case is no different. This is a very pretty and clean looking pearl white finish to this. Now, these do also come in black. The earbuds themselves, this is kind of a matte finish on the white. You see the nice silver Soundpeats logo on here, and then you get a gloss finish on the part that goes up against your ear, as well as these clear silicone tips. It all comes together for a really nice build. It feels good in the hand too. It's solid. It's not too heavy, but the case, man, I'm impressed with this case. For the price these are coming in at, the lid on this, I've seen some cases on the budget end that can be a little rickety on that. It's not. Shuts really nice. Very clean looking, again, as I would say, and just very impressed overall with the build. Comfort, same thing. I put the large tips on these because, well, got the bigger ears on myself, and they fit right in. First time, I didn't have to really wiggle it around too much. They were nice and snug. Really good seal, and gave me a solid sound impression as well. So these are 13 millimeter single dynamic drivers that they incorporated in the earbud. And then features wise, there's quite a few. Let's go ahead and run through these now. So first of all, these are Qualcomm Snapdragon sound. So that means you're going to get aptX lossless on this. You're going to get aptX Classic for those that don't have the lossless adaptable on their phone, laptop, whichever. These incorporate AAC and SBC codecs as well as that. These also have adaptive ANC as well as transparency mode, normal mode, of course. They have 3 mics on each earbud for a total of 6 that will assist with the ANC, but also assist with some really nice voice quality when you're using these for communication. These have multi-point connect. They also have in-ear detection, which was actually a really cool feature. Again, you can toggle that on or off whether you like that. Multi-point connect, we have that going on here. They do have a low latency game mode feature as well. And then they also have a toggle in the app so that you can turn on or off the touch functions of this, which, by the way, a lot of classic features on the touch functions as far as play and pause music, volume, skipping tracks, answering and ending calls, doing the multi-point, and then even controlling voice assist mode, depending if it's compatible with this earbud. Now, these do have a total of about 6.5 hours per earbud of playtime. Now, that is if you're not using ANC at all. So of course you're going to get a lower amount if you are using ANC or using communications a lot. These do take almost 3 charges out of the case. So that's going to give you up to 26 hours of uptime. And I can definitely attest to that. These have lasted a very long time during my testing. Lastly, as I did mention, there is an app that you can download with this. Now, the app is going to include some adaptive EQ features. So you can kind of, go through a programming that will give you an EQ that works for your hearing profile if you want to do that. It has 9 different EQ profiles as well as their own classic EQ. And then you can do a customizable EQ within the app as well. Now, the app is also going to tell you your volume of the earbuds. It's going to let you do your firmware updates, and it's going to give you the charge status of just the earbuds, but not the case. All right, with all that being said, let's take a deep dive into the sound of the Soundpeats. This is probably some of the best bass response I have heard in an earbud in all the different ones that I have tested and listened to, just for the fact that it's just got a lot of body and it does pulsating bass really, really well. There's definitely a bass boost that they have tuned into this earbud by default, because I'm talking about just the default classic EQ setting. I'm not talking about doing a bass boost or anything like that. There is a track I want to reference, and that is a track called Blissed Memories by R. Roxymore. Now, this track is exactly the kind of bass I'm talking about that the Soundpeats Air4 Pro does really well. It's got this just pulsating bass, again, like I said, that will just last through the mix, and it just fills the room and fills your head, and is just such an excellent responsive bass. It doesn't get out of control or anything like that unless you crank up the volume too much. That is one thing I will say about these earbuds, is if you listen to these on really high volumes, you can start to distort a little bit some of that bass. But I don't think you should listen that loud, because to me, it was too loud when I got to that point. If you listen to types of genres of music like EDM and electronic things like that, that has that fast, quick hitting bass, these aren't necessarily going to be quite as tight and precise on that type of bass. Again, though, we're talking about a budget earbud, and it still has that fill the room, full bodied bass that some of, very expensive IEMs and even headphones can't compete when it comes to these earbuds. And I was very, very impressed by that. So now moving on, let's talk about the mid-range. All right, so big pulsating bass is going to equal to muffled mid-range or scooped out mid-range, right? No. The mid-range on this to me is pleasant. Pleasant to some may seem relaxed or scooped out, but to me, pleasant here is just like it sounds. It's just pleasant. Now, I will give some track examples, because to me, the mid-range incorporates so much of our music. So some rock and roll. I love rock and roll. I love heavy rock, some metal. A track called Killing in the Name by Rage Against the Machine is one that I love to rock out to. Now, as you can imagine, on this track, the low bass drums and things really hit hard. So you're getting that upper bass present into the lower mid-range. That has a very nice hit to it. The guitar doesn't seem quite as crunchy as what I remember hearing it. So I think that's where some of that pleasantness comes through of the mid-range. And then the vocals and things here don't really fill much of the space when I'm listening to it. So you're not going to get that big resolution out of the mid-range, but it's not bad either. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, it's like a whisper or anything. It's nothing like that. You still get a nice representation of the mid-range. I have found that female vocalists do seem to be more forward to me in the mid-range than the males. The males seem a little bit more relaxed, and that's just the nature of the tuning of this. But to me, it's just a pleasant mid-range, but not bad. So now let's go ahead and move in and talk about treble. The treble here is a bit warm. And for you, those of you that aren't sure what I'm talking about here, what I mean by a bit warm is that it's a little bit rolled off, and there's not a lot of upper airiness space to the treble. So cymbals and things that splash sound a little bit thin on this and sound a little bit hissy at times, to where it's not just a true sense of what that should sound like, in my opinion, and string instruments and things like that. Now, I will give you another track example, and that is going to be Is It Always Binary by Soulwax. Now, I love listening to this track because this isn't necessarily a treble thing. It's more of a details and instruments placement type thing, because this track kind of bounces all over the place on the earbud or on the device that you're listening on. And it does a decent job here of keeping up with that. It's just not the precise details that you would expect out of a treble of a high-end device, and this is not a high-end device. You get enough details in the treble to where it's not lost, to where when vocals kind of creep up into the treble region, it's a nice, pleasant sound here. Once again, just kind of talked about mid-range. I'm also going to mention that about the treble, so it's not going to be piercing. Now, I have found if you turn these up a little louder, like I was talking about with the bass, you can get some of that pierceness, and they can be a little bit too bright and too sensitive depending on who you are with the treble, but again, we're talking about listening to them on a louder volume than I would probably recommend when it comes to the treble. But I still don't think it's a bad treble either. Like, I've heard bad treble, I've heard bad mid-range on things before, and it can just make your music very unengaging. That is not at all the case with the Soundpeats. In fact, I will kind of round out my sound impressions and tell you that is the one thing I really like about the sound of the Soundpeats Air4 Pro is these are an engaging listen. If I'm listening to music that I want to get me up, walking around, running, exercising, working out, anything that wants to get you up and moving, I've always felt that's what earbuds should be able to do for you, and they do on the classic EQ setting. All right, so with all that, what don't I like? Okay, let's be fair here. I don't like the ANC. I didn't talk about it much because it didn't impress me. When I use ANC, I get that kind of underwater type feeling in my ears when there's no music playing. That's fine. It does tune out fan noise and wind noise, accurately, I think, like it's supposed to. I just don't care for it because when I have ANC on, I can still hear people talking around me and things, and it doesn't deaden anything by any means. And I can imagine somebody working outside and things, it's not going to deaden it enough outside either. Transparency mode, it's kind of the same way. You can turn it all the way up 100%, and even when I do, I've heard other transparency modes that sound really 100%. You know what I mean? Like if somebody's just right across the room, it sounds like they're right here. And I think some people will like that about a transparency mode. This one's just okay. I just think normal is the way to go with this. And the other thing with the app, not very impressed with the EQ profiles. I said this with the other Soundpeats that I've done reviews on. I think they need at least 2 to 3 EQ profiles to be able to customize, to be able to switch out for yourself. I think 9 EQ profiles for this are a bit much just because some of them I think are useless and honestly just sound dead on the sound, like I mentioned with the classical music EQ. That is up to you. That is my subjective opinion on that one. Just not impressed by it. What I do like about these 100% is the sound. The Air4 Pro sound great, in my opinion. And I think also the communications of this works really well. I did make some phone calls with it. I could actually hear really, really clear. Like, I was impressed how clear I heard when I was on the phone with these. And then I was told my voice came through nice and clear. So I think their technology they incorporated with that, they did an excellent job of as well. And the aesthetics. Now, this is very subjective, but the aesthetics here is such a clean look. I mean, yeah, of course they're going towards an AirPod type look, but these are really clean. And I love the pearl white colorway. I'm sure the black is fine too. So yeah, that is my impressions of the Air4 Pro. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If so, please smash that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel. By the way, I now have a Patreon. If you would like to support the channel and join my Patreon, I would greatly appreciate that. I thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.